The Valkyrian Empire's first contact protocol was a well-orchestrated display of overwhelming force, a product of countless successful subjugations across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. Grand Admiral Nexera stood on the command deck of the VSS Eternal Dawn, her crystalline form refracting the light of Earth's sun as she observed the blue planet below. The massive ship, 20 kilometers in length, led a fleet of 300 vessels that had just emerged from quantum space above Earth's orbit. Primitive, she noted, watching the crude satellites and space stations scattered in low orbit. Their technology appears to be barely past the fusion age. Her second-in-command, Commander Vex, nodded in agreement, his crystalline structure vibrating in confirmation. The Valkyrians had discovered Earth 3 standard cycles ago, but chose to wait and observe. Their intelligence suggested a fractious species, divided by arbitrary boundaries and petty conflicts. Their space presence was minimal: a few orbital stations, a small base on their moon, and some preliminary colonies on the red planet in their system. Nothing that suggested they could resist the might of an empire that spanned thousands of light years. "Begin the standard contact protocol," Nexera commanded. The ship's quantum processors initiated the broadcast, transmitting in all known frequencies and languages the Empire had encountered. The message was simple: submit to Valkyrian rule within 1 planetary rotation, or face extinction. The response came not from Earth's governing bodies, but from an entity calling itself the Terran Defense Initiative. The transmission was clear, precise, and in perfect Valkyrian, something that should have been impossible. "This is Director Sarah Chen of the TDI. We've been expecting you." The casual confidence in the human's voice gave Nexera pause. Something felt wrong. Their sensors showed no significant military installations, no advanced weapon systems, nothing that could pose a threat to even a single Valkyrian vessel. "Your species has been granted the honor of joining the Valkyrian Empire," Nexera responded. "Resistance would be unfortunate." "Interesting choice of words, Grand Admiral Nexera," Chen replied, using her correct title. "Information that should have been unknown to the humans. We've had 3 cycles to study your empire, your technology, your tactics. Did you really think those primitive satellites were our only eyes in space?" Nexera's crystalline form flickered with concern as new data flooded her sensors. Quantum distortions were appearing throughout the solar system, hundreds of them. Where there had been empty space moments before, massive vessels began to materialize. They were unlike anything in the Valkyrian database: sleek, dark ships that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Impossible," Commander Vex whispered. "Their energy signatures. They're using controlled quantum singularities as power sources." The human ships moved with impossible precision, their formation shifting like liquid metal, surrounding the Valkyrian fleet in a complex 3-dimensional pattern that even their advanced tactical computers struggled to analyze. "While your empire was watching our primitive space stations," Chen continued, "we were building something else entirely. We've had quantum drive technology for 2 cycles now, developed in facilities hidden in pocket dimensions throughout our system. Every crude satellite you observed contained quantum sensors studying your ship's capabilities. Every piece of primitive technology you saw was carefully crafted to maintain this illusion." Nexera's tactical display was showing thousands of weapon locks from the human fleet. Their targeting systems operated on principles she'd never seen before, bypassing Valkyrian countermeasures as if they didn't exist. "You see, Grand Admiral," Chen's voice carried a hint of steel beneath its professional courtesy. "Humanity learned long ago to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. When we detected your scout ships 3 cycles ago, we didn't panic. We accelerated our plans. Every nation, every resource, every brilliant mind on Earth turned to a single purpose: ensuring our survival against a technologically superior opponent. The human fleet continued its complex dance, each movement revealing new capabilities that defied Valkyrian military doctrine. Their ships operated in perfect synchronization, using formations that seemed to bend space itself to their advantage. "This is your chance for a peaceful resolution," Chen offered. "Return to your empire. Tell them Earth is not to be trifled with. We have no desire for conquest, but we will not submit. Not now. Not ever." Nexera felt something she hadn't experienced in centuries of military service. Fear. These humans hadn't just prepared for war, they had revolutionized it. Every assumption about technological superiority, about military doctrine, about species development, had been turned on its head. The Valkyrian Empire had encountered thousands of species, but never one that had hidden its true capabilities so completely, never one that had used its perceived weakness as a weapon. As Nexera gave the order to withdraw, she realized that the galaxy had fundamentally changed. Humanity hadn't just survived first contact, they had rewritten the rules of galactic civilization. The age of simple conquest was over. The time of humanity had begun. The discovery of the Valkyrian scout ships had changed everything. Dr. Marcus Wong still remembered that day in his lab at CERN, when the quantum detection grid they'd built to study dark matter picked up something else entirely, the distinctive ripple of advanced propulsion technology at the edge of the solar system. Within hours, every major scientific institution on Earth had confirmed it. We were not alone, and our visitors were far more advanced than us, or so they thought. The next 3 years became known as the silent years, though they were anything but silent for those working behind the scenes. Marcus stood in the massive underground facility beneath the Antarctic ice sheet, watching holographic displays showing the progress of humanity's greatest deception. Status report. Director Chen's voice came through the quantum-encrypted comm system. She hadn't left the TDI command center in New Zealand for weeks, coordinating the final phases of their preparation. Project Chimera is at 98% completion, Marcus reported, gesturing at the rows of quantum cores being installed in the new warships. The synthetic dark matter containment fields are stable, and the AI targeting systems have completed their final combat simulations. What the Valkyrians couldn't know, was that humanity had been preparing for this moment long before their scouts arrived. The discovery of quantum manipulation in 2034 had been kept secret, developed in hidden facilities across the globe. When the aliens appeared, it merely accelerated existing plans. Beneath every major city, beneath the oceans, and in pocket dimensions scattered throughout the solar system, humanity had built its response to the age-old question, what if we're not alone, and what if they're not friendly? The Valkyrian scouts had observed what humanity wanted them to see, a species still struggling with basic spaceflight, using primitive fusion drives and clumsy chemical rockets. They saw carefully choreographed launches of obsolete satellites, watched decades-old space stations being maintained, and documented the slow progress of Mars colonies using outdated technology. They never detected the quantum transmission networks linking every human settlement in the solar system, never saw the fleets of advanced warships being constructed in dimensional spaces just slightly out of phase with normal reality, never realized that every piece of primitive technology they observed was gathering data on their capabilities, their weaknesses, their tactical doctrines. The Chinese fleet reports full combat readiness, Marcus's assistant, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, announced. European Union and African Alliance vessels are at 95%. The Americas contingent will be ready within 6 hours. The old nations still existed, but the Valkyrian threat had united humanity like nothing before. The Terran Defense Initiative, formed in secret by a coalition of world governments, had become the focal point of human resistance. Every breakthrough, every resource, every discovery was shared. Old rivalries were set aside in favor of survival. "Show me the Artemis Squadron," Marcus requested. The holographic display shifted, showing their newest class of warships. Unlike the crude, utilitarian designs the Valkyrians were allowed to see, these vessels were works of art. Sleek hulls covered in quantum reactive materials that could bend light and space itself. weapon systems that didn't just fire energy or projectiles, but manipulated the fundamental forces of the universe. The ships incorporated everything humanity had learned from studying the Valkyrians, combined with innovations their observers would never have thought possible. While they watched humans struggling with nuclear fusion, Earth's scientists had mastered quantum singularity containment. While they documented our crude attempts at energy shielding, we perfected phase shift technology that could make entire fleets untouchable. Director Chen, Marcus called over the quantum comm. There's something you should see. He transmitted the latest sensor data from their quantum grid. The Valkyrian fleet is moving. Multiple capital ships entering the system through quantum space. Right on schedule, Chen replied, her voice calm. They're following the same pattern they've used on 1,000 other worlds. Show of force, demand for submission, swift conquest of any who resist. But Earth was ready. The silent years had prepared humanity not just technologically, but psychologically. Every citizen knew their role. Every nation had its part to play. The surface would show fear, confusion, panic, exactly what the Valkyrians expected from a primitive species facing superior force. Meanwhile, beneath the surface, in hidden dimensions and secret facilities, humanity's real response waited. Quantum drives powered up. Advanced AI systems came online. Weapons that could reshape space itself were armed and ready. Send the alert, Chen ordered. All forces to final decisions. Remember, maintain the deception until the last possible moment. Let them think they have us cornered, that their victory is assured. Marcus watched as thousands of quantum signatures flickered across his displays. Humanity's hidden fleet moving into position. Cloaked by technology the Valkyrians couldn't even imagine. 3 years of preparation, of sacrifice, of unprecedented cooperation and innovation had led to this moment. Message from the Valkyrian flagship, Yuki reported. They're demanding our surrender. Marcus smiled. The silent years were over. It was time to show the galaxy that humanity had never been the primitive species they pretended to be. It was time to demonstrate what Earth could do when truly challenged. The age of deception was ending. The moment of revelation was about to begin. Admiral James Ocko watched from the bridge of the TDS Hyperion as the massive Valkyrian fleet held position above Earth. His ship, along with hundreds of others, remained hidden in quantum phase space, invisible, but ready. Years of preparation had led to this moment, and humanity would only get one chance to get it right. All fleet commanders report ready, his tactical officer, Commander Diana Patel, announced. Her hands danced over the quantum interface controls, monitoring the status of every ship in Earth's hidden armada. Quantum matrices are synchronized, phase transition coordinates locked. The Hyperion was humanity's masterpiece, a quantum dreadnought that could manipulate space-time itself as a weapon. Like all of Earth's true fleet, it had been built in secret, tested in pocket dimensions, and perfected through innovations the Valkyrians had never dreamed possible. Director Chen, Thunderbolt Command is yours. Ocho transmitted through their quantum-encrypted network. From her command center deep beneath New Zealand, Sarah Chen had orchestrated humanity's greatest deception. Now she would coordinate their revelation. Begin Operation Thunderbolt. Chen's voice came through with crystal clarity. All units, execute Phase 1. Across the solar system, humanity's hidden sensors and defense platforms activated. Quantum pulses rippled through space, mapping every Valkyrian ship's vulnerabilities. Their crystalline technology, while advanced, had fundamental weaknesses that Earth's scientists had spent years studying and exploiting. Send the message, Chen ordered. Oko nodded to his communications officer. Across every frequency the Valkyrians monitored, in their own language, Earth's response was transmitted. Your empire's evolution ended. Ours never stopped. The Valkyrian fleet's reaction was immediate. Energy shields strengthening, weapons charging. But they were defending against the wrong threat. They expected primitive fusion weapons, basic energy beams, perhaps crude missile systems. They weren't prepared for what came next. Execute Phase 2, Chen commanded. Show them what humanity can do. Across the solar system, space itself began to tear open. The quantum phase barriers that had hidden Earth's true fleet dissolved, revealing humanity's full military might. Ships emerged from dimensional pockets, materialized from seemingly empty space, rose from beneath the surfaces of planets and moons where they had waited in quantum stasis. The Valkyrian sensors couldn't process what they were seeing. Their tactical computers, designed to counter known weapons and technologies, were overwhelmed by ships that shouldn't exist, using technologies that defied their understanding of physics. All ships, execute Maneuver Omega, Ocho ordered. The human fleet moved in perfect synchronization, their quantum drives allowing them to shift through space in ways that made traditional naval tactics obsolete. Each vessel's combat system coordinated with the others, creating a deadly dance of ships that flowed like liquid metal through space. The first shots weren't fired with conventional weapons. Instead, targeted quantum fields began disrupting the crystalline structure of Valkyrian ships. Their own molecular bonds became their weakness as human vessels projected fields that could alter the fundamental forces holding matter together. They're responding exactly as predicted, Commander Puddle reported. Their fleet is attempting to regroup using standard Imperial doctrine. Quantum predictive matrices show 99.9% match with our simulations. The Valkyrians had spent millennia perfecting their military tactics, but in doing so, they had become predictable. Humanity, paranoid and innovative, had prepared counters for every standard Imperial maneuver. Execute Phase 3. Chen's voice remained steady. Show them why humanity never stops evolving. The real demonstration of Earth's capabilities began. Ships equipped with quantum singularity drives created localized space-time distortions, trapping Valkyrian vessels in temporal eddies. Advanced AI systems predicted and countered enemy movements before they began. Weapons that manipulated dark matter itself pierced supposedly impenetrable shields. Grand Admiral Nexera is requesting communication, the comms officer reported. Put her through, Ocho ordered, knowing this moment had been war-gamed thousands of times in simulation. The crystalline form of the Valkyrian commander appeared on the quantum projection. "This is impossible," she stated, her translated voice carrying tones of disbelief. "Your species. You were primitive. We watched you. Studied you." "No, Admiral," Ocho replied. "You watched what we wanted you to see. Every primitive satellite was a quantum sensor. Every outdated space station held dimensional technology. Every struggling colony was a weapons development facility. We knew you were coming long before you arrived, and we spent years preparing our response. Around them, the battle, if it could even be called that, continued. Earth's fleet didn't just fight. It rewrote the rules of space combat with every movement. Ships phased through enemy fire. Weapons struck from dimensions the Valkyrians couldn't perceive, and quantum fields disrupted their very molecular structure. Your empire's greatest weakness," Ocho continued, "was believing that technological progress followed a predictable path. You never considered that a species might take a different route, might hide their true capabilities, might prepare specifically to counter your advantages. The Valkyrian fleet, for the first time in its history, was not just losing. It was being systematically dismantled by an enemy that had anticipated and prepared for every possible response. Operation Thunderbolt wasn't just a military victory. It was proof that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology or its weapons, but its ability to innovate, to deceive, and to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. The age of Valkyrian supremacy was ending, not with a desperate last stand, but with the revelation that their perceived dominance had been built on assumptions that humanity had deliberately exploited and shattered. The battle for Sol unfolded across 11 dimensions of spacetime, though the Valkyrians could only perceive 4 of them. Commander Diana Patel's tactical display showed the full scope of the conflict, a symphony of quantum mechanics and military strategy that redefined the nature of space warfare. Valkyrian reinforcements detected, she reported from her station aboard the Hyperion. 3 fleets emerging from quantum space at the system's edge. Their signatures match Imperial Reserve Force patterns. Admiral Oko smiled grimly. Right on schedule. Director Chen. Proceed as planned. Chen's voice came through the quantum network. Activate the Sol defense grid. Throughout the solar system, devices that the Valkyrians had dismissed as primitive sensor buoys revealed their true nature. Each contained a quantum field generator, and together they formed a vast, interconnected web. At Chen's command, they activated simultaneously. The effect was immediate and devastating. The very fabric of space-time throughout the solar system became hostile to Valkyrian quantum drive technology. Their ships, attempting to use their standard FTL methods, found themselves trapped in a maze of conflicting quantum fields. Remarkable. The voice of Grand Admiral Nexara cut through the command channel. She had refused to retreat with the remnants of her first wave, choosing instead to observe humanity's capabilities firsthand. You've weaponized space itself. We had good teachers, Okyo responded. Your empire showed us exactly what not to do. You relied on technological superiority without innovation, strength without flexibility, tradition without adaptation. Around them, the battle evolved into something unprecedented in galactic history. Human ships moved through quantum space like sharks through water, appearing from impossible angles, striking with weapons that ignored conventional physics. The Valkyrian reinforcements, trapped by the defense grid, found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to exist everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. Artemis Squadron, execute attack pattern Delta, Patel ordered. A group of smaller human vessels shifted into quantum phase, becoming ghost-like as they passed through Valkyrian shields as if they didn't exist. Their quantum disruptor beams caused entire sections of crystalline hull to lose molecular cohesion. The Valkyrians fought back with desperate intensity. Their weapons might have been predictable, but they were still powerful. Energy beams capable of destroying small moons lanced through space. Quantum torpedoes designed to shatter planets sought human ships. But humanity had spent years preparing for exactly this kind of assault. Quantum predictive engines calculated firing solutions before the Valkyrians even targeted their weapons. Phase shift generators allowed human vessels to simply exist in different dimensions when enemy fire approached. Dark matter shields absorbed and redirected energy attacks. Their command and control structure is fragmenting, Patel reported. The quantum disruption fields are affecting their crystalline neural networks. They're losing fleet coordination. This had been part of the plan from the beginning. The Valkyrians' biological-technological integration, once their greatest strength, became a vulnerability when faced with weapons specifically designed to exploit it. Their ships' crystalline structures, their neural networks, even their own bodies were susceptible to quantum-level manipulation. All ships, execute maneuver Epsilon, Okyo commanded. The human fleet moved in perfect synchronization, their formation shifting through multiple dimensions simultaneously. To the Valkyrians, it must have looked like reality itself was being rewritten around them. The battle reached its crescendo as the full extent of humanity's preparations became clear. Hidden installations on every planet and moon in the system revealed themselves. Quantum weapon platforms emerged from dimensional pockets. Networks of satellites transformed into an interconnected web of space-time manipulation devices. You've turned your entire solar system into a weapon, Nexara observed, her voice carrying something close to admiration. Every piece of infrastructure, every satellite, every station. They're all part of your defense system. We had time to prepare, Okyo replied. And humanity has always excelled at preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. The battle's outcome was never really in doubt. The Valkyrians, for all their power and experience, were fighting an enemy that had spent years specifically preparing to counter their every advantage. Their reinforcements, trapped and isolated by the defense grid, could only watch as their main fleet was systematically dismantled by weapons and tactics they couldn't even fully perceive. Director Chen, Okyo called. The enemy fleet is at 30% strength and falling. Their command and control systems are failing. I believe it's time for the final phase. Agreed, Chen responded. All ships, execute Operation Checkmate. The human fleet's formation shifted one final time, creating a multi-dimensional pocket that trapped the remaining Valkyrian vessels. Quantum fields intensified, disrupting their crystalline technology at the molecular level. Ships began to power down as their neural networks failed. Grand Admiral Nexere, Chen's voice carried across all frequencies. Your fleet is defeated. Your reinforcements are contained. You have fought with honor, but this battle is over. Humanity offers terms. The battle for Sol ended not with the destruction of the Valkyrian fleet, but with something far more significant. The demonstration that humanity had not just matched Valkyrian military technology, they had surpassed it through innovation, preparation, and the ability to think in ways the Empire had never considered. As the quantum field stabilized and the dimensional barriers settled, the solar system fell quiet once more. But it was a different kind of quiet than before. No longer was humanity hiding its strength, pretending to be primitive. They had revealed themselves as a force that had revolutionized warfare itself, and the galaxy would never be the same. 1 month after the Battle of Sol, the galaxy was still coming to terms with what had happened. The Galactic Council Chamber, normally a place of rigid hierarchy and crystalline precision, hummed with uncertain energy as Grand Admiral Nexere presented her report. Her form, still bearing microscopic fractures from exposure to human quantum fields, cast prismatic patterns across the chamber's ancient walls. The humans didn't just defeat us, she concluded, her words translated into the standard galactic frequencies. They forced us to confront every assumption we've made about technological progression, military doctrine, and species development. They showed us that we have become predictable, stagnant in our superiority. The council chamber erupted in harmonics of distress. Representatives from 1,000 species, all members of the Valkyrian Empire, tried to process what this meant for the galactic order. In the center of the chamber, a human delegation stood calmly, their presence itself a deviation from 10,000 years of protocol. Director Sarah Chen stepped forward, her movement causing ripples of unease among the crystalline council members. The terms we offer are simple, she began, speaking perfect Valkyrian. Earth and the Sol system remain independent. We will share some of our technological developments, particularly in medical and civilian applications, but our military innovations remain our own. Dr. Marcus Wong, standing beside her, activated a quantum projector. Above the council chamber, a holographic display showed the extent of human space development. Vast networks of quantum sensors, dimensional pocket facilities, and manufacturing capabilities that had remained hidden until now. We don't seek conquest, Chen continued, but we will not be conquered. The galaxy is large enough for cooperation rather than subjugation. The age of simple empire building must end. Admiral Oko, completing the human delegation, added, our victory wasn't just about superior technology or tactics. It was about perspective. While your empire spent millennia perfecting a single path of development, humanity explored countless alternatives. Where you saw limitations, we saw opportunities. Where you sought control, we pursued innovation. The council's prime speaker, a Valkyrian elder whose crystalline form held the accumulated knowledge of centuries, raised his resonating appendage for silence. You speak of cooperation, yet you demonstrated power that could destroy our empire. How can we trust such capability in the hands of such a young species? Chen's response was measured but firm. Because we could have destroyed your fleet utterly, but we chose not to. We could have used our quantum technology to shatter your ships at the molecular level, but we deliberately used disabling tactics instead. Even now, we're offering to share advances that could benefit all species. The Valkyrian Empire has maintained peace for 10,000 years, the prime speaker countered. Peace through superiority is not true peace, Okyo responded. It's just delayed conflict. We're offering something different. Peace through mutual respect and cooperation. As if to emphasize his point, the human delegation activated personal quantum fields, shifting their phase slightly. A casual demonstration that they could have appeared anywhere in the chamber, could have bypassed any security, but chose to follow diplomatic protocols. The message was clear. Humanity's power was restrained by choice, not necessity. Consider this, Dr. Wong added, manipulating the holographic display to show new configurations. Your crystalline technology, combined with our quantum field manipulation, could revolutionize everything from space travel to energy production. Together, we could achieve things neither of our species could manage alone. The council chamber filled with thoughtful harmonics as the implications became clear. The humans weren't offering submission or even alliance. They were proposing a fundamental shift in how galactic civilization functioned. There will be other challenges, Chen acknowledged. Other species who might see violence as the path to power. Earth stands ready to help defend civilization against genuine threats. But the old model of empire and subjugation must end. Over the next several hours, the foundations of a new galactic order were laid. The Valkyrian Empire would transition into a cooperative federation. Technology and knowledge would be shared, with safeguards and mutual defense agreements ensuring no single power could dominate the others. As the historic session concluded, Grand Admiral Nexura approached Chen privately. "You know," she said, her crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns, "some will say we had no choice but to accept these terms, that humans held too much power to refuse." Across the galaxy, the news spread. Humanity had not just defended itself, it had catalyzed a transformation. The species that had hidden its true nature, that had turned its entire solar system into an interconnected defense system, that had revolutionized warfare itself, was now helping to forge a new path forward. The age of empires was ending. The age of innovation and cooperation was beginning. And humanity, the species that had pretended to be primitive while preparing for the worst, would help guide the galaxy into this new era, not through force or dominance, but through the same ingenuity and adaptability that had protected Earth in its hour of need. In the end, humanity's greatest victory wasn't winning the battle, it was changing the rules of the game itself.